Channel, the Car Guy Channel. My name is Mike Hennessy. This show is all about cars and all four car guys. Get yourself a cold beer. Get yourself a cold beer, guys, because our show is... We are smoking! I'm Mike Hennessy, and you're watching the Car Guy Channel. I have an auto repair shop. I've been in the business for over 30 years. You name it, we got it, we built it, we've done it, we do it. We love this car stuff, and I hope you guys do too. We're gonna have a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff cooking, so just stay tuned.
Merry Christmas, Saint Nick.
We're way up north where the air gets cold. There's a tale about Christmas that we've all been told. And a real famous cat dressed up all in red. And he spends all year working out in his sled. It's the little Saint Nick. It's the little Saint Nick.
Welcome to the Car Guy Channel. We got a show to you to play catch up on all the projects we got going on, and of course the holiday season. Now, we don't do actually special holiday shows, but we're going to take and show you a little bit about a food drive, an actual Red Cross drive, and Toys for Tots. We'll be talking to Johnny Camus and some of the other people that came from the Bay Area, our local politicians. And I want to tell you, I'm proud to be a member of what we call Car Guys and Car Gals through the Bay Area. There were a lot of shows done. The Chevy Classic Show did a show earlier in November to collect toys and things for kids, food and whatnot, and of course in all the clubs that were through the Bay Area. Freddie Fox did something on Meridian. We were on the corner of Hillsdale and Camden, and there was another Mopar show that go ahead and did their own complete drive, and we're all putting this here together. I'm proud of all of you that are involved in doing it. We all take credit for doing this. It's a great thing to do, and proud of being part of the Bay Area for doing all these type of things. But I want you to do a couple things. Sit down, get yourself a cold one, and enjoy the show. Every car's got a story, and this has a great story. Great customer, him and his wife come in. He wants to get this car here to be modern as you possibly can. Now, he likes the original look. That's why I call it kind of a restomod. The car looks original. The white wall tires, a nice black paint, the chrome. This looks like the real deal going down the road. But they originally came with a flathead motor. The flathead motor had roughly about 120, maybe 130 horsepower at the most with an automatic. We got some pictures here showing you the motor that came out of the car with this big, huge, heavy automatic transmission. We converted this car here all the way around with a Ford 302 motor, new carburetor, intake manifold, rebuilt stuff all over this car, and steering, power brakes, disc brakes, the list goes on. I got to show it to you. In 1954 was really kind of the last year of this body style. 55 they came into more of a shoebox style body car, and of course they still had the V8 flathead in this year. Last year of the flatheads for these cars. 1955 they had the overhead valve called the Y block. Reason why they called it Y block, front of the configuration of the motor had a Y. We'll go to another story about that someday, but that's what they called them. They were an overhead valve motor, and they produced 160 horsepower, which made the car a great seller. But Ford did not, and they were a little stubborn about one thing. One thing they were stubborn about was 12 volts. 1954 was 6 volts. Positive ground. 1955, 6 volts, positive ground. 1956, for the very first year, they went to 12 volts, negative ground, pretty much like everything universal all through the automotive market. So we go ahead and did this job. We went ahead and changed the electrical system on it. I mean, from soup to nuts, front to rear, everything. We used a kit on there called Quick Wire, and I think it came out pretty nice. We'll show it to you when you open up the hood. You're going to check out the wiring system. This is a cool setup. This is a cool job, and I got to show it to you. You know, when you do a job for a customer like Jay, he's one of the nicest people, him and his wife, and they were involved with the project. I think being involved with the project, guys and gals, when you're out there, knowing what you want helps people like me give you what you want. And there's a lot of dollars and cents can be involved. There's a lot of dollars and cents money out there that you can actually save by knowing exactly what you want. We started this car here out with a donor car. Happened to be a 1984 or 185 Mercury Marquis with a 302. Happened to be a fuel-injected car. Remove the fuel injection. Made it carbureted like Jay wanted, and he chose wisely. He has a couple good friends, Ed. Ed's a real sharp car guy. They kind of hang together. They kind of know what they want. They kind of collaborated on a lot of stuff they needed, and that helped me put together this project to make it a great driver. This car drives just like a brand new car going down the road, and it's pretty exciting. But let me point out a couple neat things on the car. Now, again, I was telling you earlier, some stuff years ago was not available for Fords like they are for Chevrolet and some of the models of cars. So when you're doing a car out there, the technology today makes it easy for us for some stuff. Some other stuff is a little on the edge, which I'll point some of that stuff here out. But when we go ahead and build a car like this, we have to go ahead and have a radiator that's going to cool this motor. Fortunately, Jay had a really good radiator all redone, and we were able to incorporate the radiator in the process of doing this job. But again, we didn't have any room for a fan. So we put a nice heavy-duty electric fan in the front of the radiator. And this right here is the condenser. Now again, talking about a condenser in a 54 Ford, we put in air conditioning. Now the trick to the air conditioning we did vintage air, which we'll show you inside the car. We used the original air compressor that was on a Mercury Marquis. And we actually incorporated the lines. Nowadays, when I meant about the technology of parts and things available to us, we were able to custom make the lines from the Ford air conditioning compressor all the way into the car to go into the evaporator and make this car here get nice and cold, and it makes it a beautiful driver. Jay's wife's gonna be real happy with him that he's got air conditioning in the car. And the way batteries are today, we can get a lot of poop out of these things because of the technology of building them. I get a nice small battery, tucked it in here real well. We custom made some brackets and mounts and put it in here, and it just fits just fine. It does not clog up the whole engine compartment, which sometimes you can do with a lot of items. And there's something in here we're going to try to get to get the camera in here on the fan belts. But it was kind of neat because we can run a serpentine belt. It's a single one drive belt that really helps this whole system out kind of nice, and we kind of like that. It gives it more of a upbeat look, a little more easier to take care of. We got high energy ignition, electronic ignition, polished intake manifold, Elderbrock carburetor, which I call the old Carter AFBs, and the big carburetor down there for a 4-barrel. So he's got the carburetor sound, got the carburetor feel, and he still's got the old school stuff. And what you're going to notice on here, which didn't come on 54 Fords at all, very few did, had factory power steering, is the steering box here is off of the Mercury Marquis. We used the same one because we used all the same pulleys that we were talking about earlier on the serpentine belt. So we were able to incorporate the Ford power steering pump. Custom made lines, had it made here local here in San Jose, California. Had moved these lines custom into the Borgenson steering box. Now Borgenson makes a steering box out there. If anyone wants to call me and talk to me about them, you can. I don't know if I'm that hot on the quality level. It has a little bit of a hiss noise. We called the factory 2 or 3 times, and they said it has a hiss noise. They claim it goes away or what, I don't know. But it's a small hiss noise. I think it's a livable noise we can all endure. Call it a radio noise. Just turn the radio up a little bit, the noise goes away. But we worked with it, and depends on how much time and effort you want to put into these. But you know what? We got safe power steering. And before I got the car, Jay had the front suspension all rebuilt. Ball joints, tie rod ends, and so on. The list goes on. So now we have a really good suspension on the car to make this thing here drive and ride just like a brand new car. It's a regular car going down the road. It's just really cool. We don't have the wheels off, but yes, we put on disc brakes. So we have the power booster right here, which as you can tell, it's a small dome and has a long, this is a GM master cylinder. It's a dual feed. Of course, a proportioning valve and our light switch here is on the bottom of it. So we ran all brand new brake lines. We ran all new gas lines for all the brake system throughout the car. So it makes it a really, really nice driver. And I mentioned earlier about the wiring on the car. Now, if Estelle's going to follow my finger right here, and we're going to go ahead and talk about this particular wiring harness. So we had to make all this from scratch. It does not come that way. The kit sets us up with a fuse box, all the wiring. Ed went ahead and put all the wires together, put them in here for the headlights. We had to get the clips to go to the back of the headlights, clips to go to the end of the turn signals, and all the stuff that goes on for the car. It's a lot of work. And then Jay was one of the few people out there that followed what we're doing, comes down constantly, and I want to congratulate him, applaud him for being involved. That helps us, again, knowing what the right thing to do is and to make him happy. A few other things I want you to see in this car, and I know you're going to be impressed. Giving this car some real comfortable features, of course, like air conditioning, I think is a major plus. Jay did a good job, and your wife's going to really like it, and I think you will too. You don't know if you can admit it, but you're going to love it. But see, tucking everything in, remember, this car wasn't designed for it, so a lot of the stuff here we have to engineer, recreate, redesign, and to come up with ways to get it in the car so it fits and so it's functional. This right here is a receiver dryer. We tucked this thing in here again. With all the custom-made lines we made, these are all pressure-fitted. These right here are actually really made. There's no hose clamps in anywhere on any of the lines on this car for the air conditioning system. So they're done really nice and tight, fits in there like a glove. It fits beautiful. Now these lines run all through the body. We kind of tucked them in there really neat, just like the air conditioning compressor. And we ordered this. If you guys ever do your air conditioning system, this right here is the air conditioning bulkhead. And the bulkhead has two hoses for it. I mean, two hoses for the air conditioning, and it has two hoses for the heater. Now, if you get the type of system like we put in this car, it's called the Gen 2, Gen 4, that actually bolts underneath the dash of the car, so it's all hidden. So we had to remove all the existing 1954 Ford stuff, like a blower motor and all the heater cord and all the stuff that 54 Ford had to offer. So we had to custom make a plate. We did, I think, a pretty decent job here. Keep all the, I always like the screws to show and look nice, and very nice job Ed did on putting that plate together, custom making that. And then, of course, this right here is the air conditioning line. This right here happens to be the other air conditioning line, and then the two heater lines on the bottom. It just makes it look really nice and clean, and that just, to me, makes the job just fantastic. I love it. Looks great. And of course, little touches of things that need to be done. You got to check the transmission fluid. So we did order some custom parts. A lot of them came from Low Car. Summit Racing was a real big supplier for parts. Winchester Auto Parts are big suppliers for parts for us. They know what we want. We get it from them, and we get it on the car. It just makes our life a lot easier to do, because again, there's no rules but safety. As long as it's safe, that's what we want. We want all crimped lines. We don't want any hose clamps unless we can get away with it. I could go on all day, but look under the hood of this car. I think it looks just spectacular, and I'm pleased about it, and the car drives like a new car. What makes this Crestline two-door coupe really spectacular and really neat, I love the stainless on the older cars. The vintage stainless works all the way down the sides of the car. You got the V8 emblem up there, the wide white wall tires. Perfect. Beautiful. Just fantastic. Of course, the mirrors, the stainless here, then the stainless has the word Victoria in there. That's just a word that kept with Ford for a while, and it just really makes the car, as far as I was concerned. All the stainless that goes all the way down, the trim. I think this car here is just beautiful lines. I think they're fantastic. And let's take you inside and show you how about that air conditioning went inside that dash. I think you'd be pretty impressed. Now, rewiring this car means you got to rewire into the inside of the car. Now, there's always some things you got to deal with and make some adjustments. Not everything's perfect. Not everything goes the way it really should. But when the horn gets honked on the car, we had actually put a separate button, and we kind of hid the button underneath the dash a little bit. Right about here is our button under the steering column, because we can't run the wire through the steering column through the bottom of the steering box, because we put a Borgenson power steering box, so you really have no choice. But some of the neat features that we did, we kept everything looking the total effect of the 1954. The same dash. One of the neat thing is we got a radio. Jay orders the radio from a company, and it was great. Got it in the car because we got to put the air conditioning in, and here's the air conditioning box built all the way down here, which you would never have that in a 1954 Ford, but we were able to tuck this all the way in the bottom, put the controls here. You got vents on this side, you got vents on the left, you got vents on the right, so everybody's comfortable in this cabin. With the gauges on the dash, of course, are originally a positive ground, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, a 6-volt system. We did have complications having the gauge read correctly for the temp, but I needed that gauge to be accurate. So we went ahead and put in an aftermarket gauge here on the bottom, kind of tucked it, and I really didn't want to do it at first, but after on there it looks pretty nice, but we got to know what the temperature is. And these street rods and restomod, there's always a modification, there's always a change that we need to do. And you can see this right here, this is all original stuff, and like I always said, cars only original once. There's a lot of ways to do these cars, and there's all sorts of avenues and choices and designs and whatnot, and everybody has their own taste and their own flavor. And they're all good. There's high ones, tall ones, they lower them, they do all kinds of things, custom paints, so you name it, crazy motors, little motors. But I think the taste that Jay had was excellent. I happen to like this. It made the car make a user-friendly automobile out of it and put it back on the road. Salvaging this car here to put it on the road to make it a drivable car, I recommend it highly. So I hope you enjoyed the 54 Ford. Let's check out a couple of the projects we got going on in the shop. Got to show it to you. It's cool. It's neat. Got to show it to you. And I got my buddy Mark Furlong over here, and he runs the whole store here in Santa Cruz. Correct, Mark?
Yes, I do.
Now, Mark handles all my parts, all my stuff, all my weird stuff, the weird crap, anything weird, we call you.
Yes.
So we call about all the weird stuff. This store's over in Santa Cruz, and they got five stores, right?
Yes, we do.
Now, the reason why I'm having Mark on the show is for more than one reason. I always say more than two reasons, but we got a lot of reasons why. He's got a crew. You guys have been meeting his crew throughout all the shows and all the stores and stuff. I asked him a question earlier, and I'm going to change it around. How do you hire the help you got?
When they walk in, if I like the way they look and the way they talk, then I'll give them a try.
Good. All your guys have been with you for years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I like to keep them around as long as possible.
Now, how long have you been in the parts business?
24 years.
24 years? Jeez. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So you better know what the hell you're doing.
Well, I hope so. Not always, but I always try.
You guys are part techs besides part guys. So when you hire a guy, he's a car guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows parts. He knows one thing. He knows another thing. With all the stuff you guys got, you got a versatility of car guys.
Very much so.
You got guys. He's got a street rod guy, flathead guy, wholesale guy, and all your guys are legitimate bone car guys, correct?
Absolutely.
Let's rock and roll. Let's get our parts going, buddy.
Okay.
Good. I always like to show anybody that comes to the shop some of the new things that we inquire, coming into car collecting. And there's a car that we just picked up, a good buddy of mine. We kind of share some of our cars we go ahead and do. We find something unusual, find something that we like. But we got a 1939, we'll say a 39, 40, because the bodies were the same when they were going out of business, and it's a Hupmobile. This happens to be registered as a 1941. It was one of the last bodies of the Skylarks to really come off the assembly line before the factory really went under. Hup kind of merged with other companies at this time, Graham Page. Of course, you can tell by the looks of the back window, like a Cord and whatnot. So they're buying parts from really about everywhere to put a whole complete car together. And picking this up for my collection, I think, is really kind of cool because it's unusual. It's a little four-door car. They're just, now they kind of might be rare, but they're not really rare with the checkbook. They pull pretty decent money, of course, but not like some other breeds and makes and models of cars. The popularity of it is just a little bit kind of obscure or a little different, but they're unique, and they're still definitely some part of our Americana of what we have going on. We have to do a water pump on it, so I thought I'd show you something ahead of time before we really do a full complete episode on it. But I'll show you this water pump we just got back, and I'm telling you, the guy really liked that water pump shaft from the price of the bill from it. But this car's really kind of neat. Little four-door car, six-cylinder. It just drives and hums pretty good. Now, a lot of people would want to turn something like this into a straight rod. This is something like what Jay went ahead and did a restomod. Put in a V8 in the car and make it a little bit more update friendly. This is one of the car I would probably recommend maybe not to, because it does run good the way it is. It's not going to be on any big drives, and it's mostly going to be static, maybe more showing of what it really is, and keep the value of what a Hup really is, the value of the car, not the money value, but keep really what it actually is. They made not a lot of these. I'm not going to say thousands of them, but they're just very, very unique. And I wanted you to check it out, and I'll show you that water pump here in a second. Here's the crown jewel I was talking about, but I should quit complaining about the cost of this stuff. But I was just kind of shocked a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. This right here is a water pump we took off the car. It was just making noise after we got it running. Just see how, I like to check and see how this stuff runs. But I wanted to show you something on here. Since it's off the car, the shaft, there's the propeller shaft that goes right inside here that operates the propeller that goes around, that pushes the water through the system. Well, how you lube this shaft is from right here. This is a nut. You go ahead and you fill this up with grease on the inside, and you turn this nut, and it presses grease inside here. And there's actually a type of rope seal that's inside this screw here. It's a seal. It's inside there that keeps the water from coming out. The tighter this thing here is, keeps the water from coming out the shaft. Old school, it's the way it's done. A lot of water operated items are like that. But how you grease it and how you service it is every once in a while you just take this and you turn it a half a turn, quarter turn. Just get a little bit of grease in there, and that's what goes ahead and lubricates this. We're going to get this on that Hupmobile. We'll try to have it on the show for the next episode, and we'll do a Hupmobile drive around. There's a lot about this business I absolutely love. Between all the cars and the car stuff, it's car guy talk all day long. When I get home, I try to unwind by not going into car stuff, but I do. That's just kind of what us car guys and car gals do. It's part of what goes on. The other neat part about the business is the people that we happen to work for. And the couple that we're doing this car for, I'm telling you, Paul and Christy are the two most genuine people I've really ever met in years of doing a car. We're going to show you some of the parts of Paul. We talked to Paul on the phone. All of a sudden, Oh, that'd be kind of cool. It comes in the mail. We got to put it on the shelf, get things going. We finally got down to show you today how we're doing with the paint. Showed you a couple episodes about how we're doing the car, how it's all primed. We took this thing here down to the bare metal, and I mean everything. We're talking down to the bone of the car. Total skeleton, parts we bead blasted, up and down, rust work and all the stuff. This car right here has zero rust into it anywhere at all. I would have to say this car is zero rust. And to show you really where we're at, it's a black car. Paul wanted it black. So that's kind of something we did. We did a little couple extra steps for him, and I know he's going to appreciate it very much, but you got to see the depth in this paint. The first time we go ahead and paint the car, we painted the car and got the color on, make sure we had, do them black. You're always going to have a boo-boo here, a booger here, whatnot, but we didn't want any, or at least bring it down to very, very few at the most. So we did a full complete paint, we did a clear on it, sanded it down, and then we went ahead and saw some of the problems that we needed to cure. They weren't that many, but there was a small handful. We go ahead and cure all the problems on the car. We take it over to my good buddy over there at his place over at Autosport. There's this big, beautiful boot that we go ahead and use, and I'm telling you, Jules says, guys, you got a couple days in here, squirt it down. We went ahead and recolored the car. We went ahead and clear coated it. We let the car sit for a while, and we added more clear. This car has good amount of clear for it because we're going to be taking a lot off. And I'll show you why. When we go ahead and sand this car, we've sanded this car here about this on the third time. We sand it down with an ultra-fine 2000 grit sandpaper, and you can actually see the texture in this. And I don't know if you can see during the filming, when Estelle's filming the show here, you can actually see the color of my shirt in the black paint. The depth in here is fantastic. Now, we did this on purpose just to show you guys on the show, is the door. This door and this are the very same thing. This just shows you, and this is just so smooth, just to show you the texture and how it looks before it goes through the 3 stages of polish. Now, that's mostly the show way or the high quality way of doing it. You got stage 1, you got stage 2, and of course stage 3 is the very, very, very fine polish. And this right here is only done in stage 1, just to give you a little bit of a hint. So there's going to be a little bit more depth. So we went ahead and set this up for you to show you this is what it looks before you do the first stage of polishing. This will be our final polishing on it, but before stage 1 goes on it, this is all color sanded, and that car is straight as an arrow. It's beautiful, just beautiful. This right here is how it looks. Looks a bit, of course, like a flatty color, but it's not. It's already cleared. And this right here, we did this. We're ready to do this here next, and we're going to show you the other side of the car. It looks, I'll let you check it out. Now, I hope you can see the depth in this black paint, let alone how straight this car here is. This happens to be a 1969 Super B, which is, we're doing the 440 and all the stuff we're going to be going about it. But look at the texture of the paint, as smooth it is. It's beautiful, it's straight. And this right here is really what we've been working on to accomplish for Paul and Christy. We went through it really quite a bit. The underneath of the car is just as nice as up here. And it gives you how this car here looks. This side here has been polished, and this right here has been polished with 1, 2, and 3. We're going to be waxing the side of the car here today, finishing the polishing on the other side, and I just can't wait for those two to come down here. We'll get lunch over next door and talk about how the car looks and what's our next avenue, what we're going to go for other items, how to attack this. This right here is RT hood. Now, Paul, when you're watching the show, watching the episode, we sat these on here for fit. After they got on there, I go, I don't know if I almost kind of like the look of these flat black scoops, but I'm sure they're going to be going the same jet black that the car is already painted in, the Chrysler jet black. And we set these on here to see really how the hood, how it's really going to look, and before we start bolting it on. And I caught a couple little boo-boos on the hood that I definitely, because the car looks so good and the hood is such an iconic part of the car, I'm going to go ahead and retouch up a few pieces just because they have to be done. And I want it to look best as we possibly can. But give you an idea, this right here is how the whole hood looks in the black, and show you how these scoops go on the car. Doing a Mopar has been challenging for a lot of guys out there. There's books out there of all sorts of parts available, but there's not a lot of stuff available that we'd really like to have. On doing this particular Super B, it would have been nice to get new front fenders. They did need a lot of work. We put hours and hours of making sure that the metal was straight. We used dollies, all old school stuff that you really shouldn't have to do because these fenders should be available. There's companies, figure for Ford and Chevrolet and others, that are available that'll be done out there, but they're not. But I'm telling you, when something comes up available, Paul's a really good guy about getting the parts We're doing these high-end disc brakes on the front. We're able to rebuild the lower control arms with all new bushes inside. They don't sell control arms. We have to get the parts for them to put in. And, of course, the lower ball joints, all brand new stuff, which is available, which is kind of nice. These right here are the spindles. We painted all the pieces. We're assembling everything as of now. We've been starting to do that while the buffer was buffing the car out. The detailer getting that thing going. You're seeing all the disc brakes, new rotors, and, of course, new leaf springs in the back. Torsion bars. It's wrapped up in those blue, in the blue nylons we call them, but they're all wrapped up inside there. And some of the real neat stuff, of course, you get the upper control arm bushings, so we can get a shot of these bushings, ball joints, and the whole new A-arm. I'm telling you, it just doesn't get better than this. Paul has basically just bought the best of best, and I just appreciate it. It's nice to work for somebody like that wants the car to be the right car. I don't think there's anything on here that we can't, if it's out there, we're replacing it. We're getting all new stuff. And the parts coming in, obviously, for the sway bars. All the little nuts and bolts things that we're going through now for rubbers for all the car. We got things like for all sorts of rubber grommets that go everywhere throughout the whole car. We're replacing everything and anything we possibly can. And we're going through the transmission and all the pieces. Door latches. We've taken these, we've soaked these in acid cleaner to clean them up so we can relube them and see how well they're going to work. Some of these things are available, some are not. And we're going to repair them if we can. That's all there is to it. These pieces go on the car. We had to straighten these out. These are where all the marker lenses go. And we go ahead and we make a rack for it. We put them on there. We're going to be spraying these when the car's done so we can go ahead and put it on. That's where all the marker goes on all the four fenders. The taillights and so on. We have boxes of air conditioning. We're going to do a vintage air system. So Christy's going to be happy driving around in this car. She'll be cool. It should be cool in the car anyway, but she'll be cool as being cool. How's that? So she'll enjoy that pretty good. So we're putting air conditioning in, a lot of those amenities to really make it a street car. Paul and myself talked about the horsepower, the type of motors. Some motors with air conditioning is not really a good mix. We need this car here to be a good driver and dependable, and of course sound good and run like a Super Bee. Do what a Super Bee is supposed to do. So we're going to cover all those points when we get to that part. There's so much areas to go on, but this is so exciting for us when the paint is down to the nitty-gritty. We're just down to the biggest hurdle. Now when you have a part pulled out like we've set out, when a part's pulled out, we can get them on the car. K-rails on, other little bumper brackets are on. This car's coming out really good. Now to me, this is where the fun begins because you can build it. And that's where the fun comes in all the way. And it's going to have a black vinyl top. You're going to be seeing this thing here, so we're pretty excited about this car. I hope you enjoy the stuff going on out there. And I'm telling you, my shop doesn't have two empty stalls too often. So we're going to be filling those here up. Maybe we'll get that Hupmobile in there and some of our other things going on. And I'm telling you, we got a lot going on coming up. A lot of neat projects, good stuff coming in. And we're going to be coming up with an episode for a 1973, what we call, it's actually a Plymouth Sport Fastback. Looks like a Duster. That car turned out spectacular. You're going to see the episode on that coming up and that car finished. For my good buddy Dan, we'll have it ready for Christmas coming up, and we're all excited about it. Enjoy life. Enjoy the next show coming in, and we'll catch you later.